to the 2019 U.S. Lacrosse Fall Classic live from Tierney Field in Sparks, Maryland. Time for Game 2. The men's senior national teams from the United States and Canada set to face off. What's going on, everybody? Travis Eldridge now joined by Matt Silva. We do a little sub in here as we get ready for the two men's national teams to battle. The first time the U.S. and Canada have played since that dramatic gold medal game in the summer of 2018.
Yeah, no question, Travis. Business is about to pick up here tonight at Tierney Field. A little bit of a different look for the rivalry, especially on the Canadian side. A lot of newcomers. However, anytime the U.S. and Canada meet, it's a tense, taut, physical affair with world-class talent on the field.
So that gets us into our players to watch. Some names that you know on the United States side and some names you should know when you look at the Canadians.
And, of course, one of those knowns is Rob Pennell, two-time All-World in an international setting. He is one of the top scorers in international history. We know what he does at the professional level. We know what his credentials are. Can he be a leader of this group moving forward?
Congratulations. And then when you look at Steve Dinapoli, he's now back in the mix after a tough injury right before the World Championships. And how about the Canadians? Andrew Q, a guy who really emerged this summer.
Yeah, we saw him score the game-winning goal for the Chesapeake Bayhawks in that MLL championship game, kind of a coming-out party for him. He's one of those guys that's been simmering in the Division II ranks and really making his statement now on an elite level.
Of course, there's also Jeff Teat for the Canadians, the All-American out of Cornell. For Team USA, Matt, go through what are some of the things they're looking for here this weekend specifically.
Yeah, this is an interesting pivot point in the trajectory of the program coming off of that 2018 World Championship. This is one time to make a first impression for some of those guys that were not a part of that process, and also those that were on the training team but didn't quite make the 23. They're going to want to see how they communicate on defense. That's where the 2018 group really needed to be coached up the most, because there's not a ton of coaching on the defensive end in the professional game. So with Canada running their two-man games, how are they going to talk through that? How are they going to collaborate to defend and then value the ball? The international rules, possession is so critical. They're like rare diamonds. You got to hold on to that ball and make sure that you're maximizing every possession. Empty possessions are a no-go.
What about for the Canadians as we take a look at their huddle?
It's a youth movement. You're going to see 12 current collegians and additionally 7 players that graduated from the class of 2019 suiting up for Canada. So this is going to be their first exposure to this level of competition, this rivalry. They're looking to prove something not only to these Canadian coaches, but also you got to remember there's a lot of professional opportunities looming out there for these guys, be it NLL, MLL, PLL, Major Series Lacrosse. So this is an opportunity again for them to make a statement at this elite level.
And, of course, it is really, for both these programs, one of the starting steps toward that tryout process for the 2022 World Championships. Some big news coming out today. Those World Championships will not be in Coquitlam, British Columbia. They will be moved to what is being called a larger market. We'll talk more about that throughout the evening, but that will be something, a big storyline to watch for any of the players that would like to compete in those 2022 World Championships that are now to be determined location.
World Lacrosse, of course, really making a push for the Olympics in 2028. And every decision that they make between now and then is calculated with that goal in mind.
At the face-off X, Trevor Baptiste, number 9 in that white USA uniform, taking the opening draw. Of course, the 4-time USILA All-American, was part of the World Championship team in 2018 for Team USA. He takes the opening draw going up against Justin Inacio, the current Ohio State Buckeye. The opening draw comes all the way to the U.S. defensive end, and it's scooped up by the United States. Take a look at the United States offense. Here's Will Manny going to work. He sends it behind to Marcus Holman. And now to Rob Pennell. That starting attack unit for the United States. Holman, Pennell, and Manny.
All three of those players, of course, very familiar with each other. Holman and Pennell have been on 2 U.S. teams together. Manny and Holman working together with the Archers.
Here's Connor Kelley, who's stoned away by Brett Dobson, the starting goalie for the Canadians. But Pennell with the ground ball, and he keeps it alive here for the United States.
Tonight's game for Team Canada, defenseman number 2, Luke Magnan.
And Dobson is a guy that Coach Randy Mearns is obviously high on because he's playing for him at St. Bonaventure, but really polished for such a young player.
What a skip pass across and a finish from Pennell. Great look from Connor Kelley.
Specialist number 3, Justin Ignacio. Defender number 37.
And that's what Connor Kelley can do. He can lull you to sleep. One of those swing guys can play midfield or attack coming down the alley, and he draws the entire defense down, skips the feed over the top. Pennell with the finish.
There's a little no look there from Connor Kelley. Get him some style points as well.
And goal number 47, Brett Dobson.
And look at all the traffic, all those sticks. That has to be the perfect pass to make its way to Pennell. And Kelley, such a masterful distributor. Coming out of the midfield here for the USA team, of course, has the chops to play attack, and there's always a debate about whether you consider him an attackman or a midfielder.
Midfielder number 2.
In this case and in this setting, he's very much a midfielder.
Attackman number 3, Rob Pennell.
Got a violation on Trevor Baptiste, gives the Canadians their first offensive set here off the faceoff.
Midfielder number 7,
Joel Tinney
Steven
scoops up the
Dinapoli.
loose ball, the former Hopkins midfielder.
Defender number 14,
And our
Tim
first
Muller.
look at the offensive set here for the
Midfielder number 21,
Canadians.
Connor Kelley.
We mentioned all the
Midfielder
youth
number 26,
here
John
for
Hall.
Canada.
Defenseman
And
number
it's some
27,
different names you're going to
Garrett
see.
Cole.
Tyson Gibson currently
Defenseman
working
number
with it.
33, Matt Dunn. And then the goal
Midfielder
runner
who's the
number 31,
first
Brian
overall
Phillips.
draft pick in the NLL draft this year. He'll be playing
Team
for the New York
USA goal.
Riptide, the
Scored by
expansion
number 21,
program.
Connor Kelley. Correction, assisted by Connor Kelley. The goal by number
And a lot of
3,
people
Rob
thought
Pennell.
Andrew Q should have been that number 1 pick. He dropped to the Riptide.
Shot
sorry.
in front is kicked away there by Phipps, who gets the start and goal for the United States.
Or Q dropped to the Black Wolves, I'm sorry, all the way in the 3rd round. Nice steal for New England.
Here's Jeff Teague working from X. Shot sails a little wide from Ryan Lee. And the backup stays with Canada. Ryan Lee coming off a big summer. The Denver Outlaws, Major League Lacrosse, came up just short in the MLL championship game.
And he certainly benefited from playing alongside one of the greatest in a coaching box tonight for Team Canada, John Grant Jr.
Yeah, how about the coaching staff for the Canadians here tonight? You have John Grant Jr. working with the offense and Brody Merrill working with the defense.
It's almost like you can see the changing of the guard right in front of us as far as this Canadian national team program. Canada really taking the long view on this, looking at 2021, 2022.
Gibson feeds Teague, but Phipps with the stop.
Brian Phipps, ever the steady presence back there. Went from being a backup with the Bayhawks this year to being their starting goalie for the championship. The consummate teammate. Talking to John Danowski about him, he said he was very close to making that team in 2018. The guys love him. And he says you like to have a goalie who can save your bacon when you make a mistake, and certainly he did so there.
Brian Phipps, you talk to anybody who has played on a team with him, and all you get is that he is just one of the great locker room guys around the sport. And certainly the case for the Chesapeake Bayhawks this year, and he helped them win a title. Here's a look at Miles Jones. Sends behind to Pennell. Scored that first goal for the United States. Connor Busick down the alley. He had a great summer playing with the Atlas and the PLL, and that shot is stopped by Dobson. International rules, 15-minute running quarters here at the Fall Classic tonight. No shot clock, no clearing clock either, so tends to be it can be a slower game depending on the situation. Not something you may see tonight, though, with not as much at stake in an exhibition setting.
And the poles are off and running for the U.S. Nice play on the defensive end there by Jared Newman, staying in on offense here.
Busick off the post. Loose ball looks to stay alive. We got a flag down. And let's see what the call is. Luke Magnan, the slashing call for the Canadians. Played at Robert Morris, now with the Halifax Thunderbirds in the NLL. Hasn't played a ton of field lacrosse at the professional level, but played at Robert Morris in college.
And on the other end, we got our first look at Jared Newman in a USA jersey, one of 5 first-time U.S. players trying to make a mark.
Step down shot there from Manny is saved by Dobson. Excuse me, from Holman. Canadians trying to kill off the rest of this penalty as Magnan continues to sit in the box. A player down here on offense.
Like to see the U.S. spin the ball around a couple of times on that man-up possession. Early trigger there from Holman.
A little give and go there from the Canadians, ends up in the stick of Phipps. That's a turnover, but we are back to even strength. Long pass up ahead is connected to Steve Dinapoli.
What a great story, Steve Dinapoli playing in this game after the knee injury. Took away his chance to play for the U.S. in 2018. He was on that 23-man roster just weeks out, tore his ACL, has battled all the way back. Who knows, he could very much be in the conversation for 2021, 2022.
Here's Manny, back to Kelley. Had a great assist on that first Team USA goal. Shot is saved as Mike Chanenchuk tested Dobson, but Dobson with some early stops here to build the confidence for the Canadians.
Yeah, he's certainly proving up to the task early in this game. He's only a sophomore. He made the MAC All-Rookie team last year for St. Bonaventure as a first-year program, so they threw him right into the fire and again here tonight.
This is Ryan Lee as the Canadians look to get their first real good offensive possession so far tonight. Shot a little wide. We believe that's Ty Kurtz, number 22 for the Canadians. He was a late addition for Canada. The current Delaware sophomore had a stellar freshman year in the CAA for the Blue Hens and head coach Ben DeLuca.
So many Canadians getting additional opportunities at the NCAA ranks.
Tinney in front to Donville. His shot is turned away by Phipps. Race for the sideline, and it stays with the Canadians.
Talking to Coach Mearns, he says he's grateful for the American coaches. You know, he takes these box guys, sends them south, they coach them up, teach them spacing principles and things of that nature, and they come up to be really polished field players.
That ball is stripped away, but Clark Peterson around the back, and just a little wide from Lee, and a turnover will give it to the United States. Almost a really good look for the Canadians. Instead, it's the U.S. that causes the turnover. There's Will Haas, number 6 in white for the U.S., another one of those players that was part of that team that went to Israel in 2018 in the summer.
So far, you got to like what you're seeing out of the U.S. defense. Matt Dunn, Tim Muller, and Garrett Epple starting on the back line for that USA team.
And Miles Jones's pass well over the head there of his teammate Connor Busick, gives it back to the Canadians. And we got a timeout for Team USA. Head coach John Danowski wants to talk some things over after that turnover by Miles Jones. And what do you think of the U.S. offense so far? They were to get cash in on the one, but the longer range shots Dobson seems to be seeing pretty well.
I think this group in particular has not had an opportunity to really practice together. They had a walkthrough today. That's about it. And in general, you're coming up on a month since the end almost of the PLL season. And so there's a little bit of the rust factor. And you're seeing that here in the first quarter. I think Coach Dino's going to bring them in the huddle here and say, you know, you're not trying to prove anything to us. Don't be afraid to make mistakes. Let's work the ball around. Let's try to work together and see if we can get some better looks on the goal.
On the other side, when you look at the Canadian roster, you got a couple of guys on this team in Andrew Q and Warren Jeffrey, who are part of the MLL champion Chesapeake Bayhawks. They, of course, beat the Denver Outlaws 10-9 in the MLL championship earlier this month. And Q, the guy who was part of the game-winning goal.
Yeah, and on the other end, Warren Jeffrey turned out to be a really impact player for them. A tough, hard-nosed defenseman, a little bit of an enforcer, kind of an agitator. Ran into some trouble in that regard this season. But that's kind of the benefit, I think, right now of this new two-league dynamic is just you've doubled the opportunities for guys to get out there and show what they can do. And that next tier, there's not much of a drop in either regard as far as from, say, from 100 to 200 players. And so a lot of these guys are getting an opportunity to play at that kind of level, and certainly those two took advantage.
See John Grant Jr. there in the huddle, a guy who was on the opposite side with Denver, a player, offensive coordinator for that Outlaws team. Junior actually in town here with his Air Force team, assistant coach for Air Force, as you see him there with the hat on in between Brody Merrill and head coach Randy Mearns. So he had an opportunity to come help out the Canadian national team here on Friday night before he helps Air Force in their scrimmage here in the Maryland area tomorrow.
Can you imagine if you're one of these college kids and standing in front of you are John Grant Jr. and Brody Merrill? That's got to be pretty unnerving. But, they're two of the most gracious and nice people as you will meet, and also excellent, excellent coaches. Brody, of course, at the Hill Academy, and John Grant now at Air Force. And that's kind of why he's in town as well, with Air Force playing some fall ball in the area. Yeah,
two of the great lacrosse minds you can pick. Good guys to have on your coaching staff for Canada. Their offense goes to work now, coming out of the U.S. timeout, under 4 minutes to go in this first quarter.
And Gary Gate was on the women's Canadian sidelines earlier, so lots of legends out here tonight.
Here is Andrew Q. Scored that game-winning goal in the MLL championship game. Passes in front, a little high, and it's turned over.
Q's development has been interesting because he was just that prototypical big lefty finisher, putting up a ton of goals early in his career. And then the defenses adjusted to him midway through college, and he had to become more versatile. His senior year, career-high 36 assists to go with all those goals. So he's become a more complete player as a result.
And I think that's a unique development you see with a lot of guys who have early success in their college careers scoring. It's, okay, how do you adapt now when you become the number one guy on your particular team? We've seen that with a number of different guys as they've evolved in their college careers.
Yeah, the scout on Q would have been just, use a shutoff. Maybe put a short stick on him, but just don't let him get his hands free. And now you have to account for his dodging ability and his feeding ability.
Look at some new players for Team USA. You got number 5 in white collecting the ball now, Matt Kavanaugh. Had a nice summer with the Redwoods in the PLL. Sends it behind to Jules Henningberg, another guy coming off a special summer. Kavanaugh looking to get the hands free. He's got a short stick matchup on him. Draws the slide. Horses there in front to John Haas, who backs things out.
And here you're seeing the effect of that timeout. Looking for the best opportunity, not the first one.
Henningberg's pass all the way through to Chanichuk. How about the summer Jules Henningberg had? He was a guy who had a good career at Rutgers, had shown some signs of promise in the professional game in his first couple of seasons, but really his athleticism really was showcased this summer and what he was able to do.
Yeah, and for this setting, Coach John Danowski said he's kind of an X factor in this attack group, someone who they don't know as much about and are excited to get a good look at, someone who brings a versatile skill set. You got your lefties and Kavanaugh and and Will Manny. You, of course, know about Rob Pennell and Marcus Holman. What does Jules bring to the table?
Connor Kelley and Rob Pennell trying to play a little two-man game at X. Pennell. Skip pass is deflected. And going to go over the sideline. The U.S. will keep it off the deflection.
I referenced Pennell and the players to watch, and again, looking more from a leadership component. You know, is this someone that guys can gravitate toward? Is this someone who's captain material potentially here as we gear up for the next round of U.S. tryouts? Certainly the coach is looking for him to take up and step up and take a leadership role.
Pennell, a guy who was on the 2014 and 2018 World Championship teams for Team USA. And with 42 seconds left in this opening quarter, Henningberg and the U.S. content to try to hold for one good shot.
And so there's no count, no shot clock. However, they can apply the keep it in rule, which college fans that have been around for a while will remember that as keeping the ball in the box.
Henningberg gets free. Dobson with a stop. Just enough of it to keep it out. 14 seconds left for the Canadians. Gibson fed and a backhand shot sails wide. Still 3 seconds left for the Canadians if they go quickly. Lee's got to send it in front. Clangs off a helmet, but we have a late flag.
Team Canada 0.
We'll get you this flag here in a second as we head to break. 30-second foul. We'll get that when we come back, but so far, the U.S. with the only goal through 15 minutes. Team USA with a 1-0 lead over Canada. Connor Kelley and Rob Pennell connecting. You're watching the U.S. Lacrosse Fall Classic on Lax Sports Network and 11 Sports. 11 Sports is your home for Big Sky football all season long. Tomorrow afternoon, our crew heads to Greeley, Colorado for a matchup between Northern Colorado and Portland State, 3 p.m. Eastern, 1 p.m. Mountain Time. Portland State coming off a shutout victory over Idaho. Looking to play spoiler as it's homecoming at Northern Colorado. It's Big Sky football on 11 Sports Saturday, coming up tomorrow, 3 p.m. Eastern, 1 p.m. Mountain Time. Travis Eldridge and Matt DeSilva back with you from Sparks, Maryland, the Fall Classic here at U.S. Lacrosse headquarters. We start the second quarter. The Canadians down 1-0, but on a 30-second man-up opportunity as we had a late flag at the end of the first quarter. And so Andrew Q and Jeff Teague and company go to work on the man-up. This is Teague working at the top of the box. Q's shot hit a helmet in front, but it's kept alive by Tyson Gibson. Back to Teague. Step down, stopped by Phipps.
And that one stung for Phipps. He's shaking that one off at the moment. Really big-time save for the 32-year-old. And he's still nursing that behind the crease.
And a cold night here in Sparks, Maryland. Doesn't make that one feel any better. It's Connor Busick coming out of the box. And we have a whistle, and they're going to, I believe, take a look at Phipps, who is down here. You get another look at this shot.
Yeah, and that's Phipps extended all the way out to his off-stick side to take that off what looked like maybe the inside of his leg there. He's going to get some treatment here on the sideline perhaps.
He just gave a thumbs up. Injury timeout here for Brian Phipps.
That could have come at a really inconvenient place. And they're going to take some time here. I tell you what, back to that man-up set for Canada, though, with Q and Teat operating up top. I really like that because both of those guys can really bring it from the outside. So it's like pick your poison, having those guys operate from up top. The man-down defense of the U.S. chose to play tight and play a little bit more compact, and so Teague got a really good look, and that was pretty much just untethered.
Well, and you mentioned Jeff Teague, him and Clark Peterson for this Canadian team. It seems like they just play together everywhere. It's like it's a package deal when you talk about Peterson and Teague.
Yeah, no question. Just a year apart at the Hill Academy. Teague's got one at Hill Academy and at Cornell. Teague's got his senior year coming up, of course. And Coach Randy Mearns says these guys are thick as thieves, man. And so what you see off the field is what you get on it, too. Just instant chemistry whenever they're together.
Saw how well that worked out for Cornell and the Big Red during their 3 years together. Of course, Clark Peterson moves on, so Jeff Teague going to have to play his senior year without
12, Jack Contention.
Clark Peterson, as we do have a goalie change. Jack Kincannon getting some time here in goal, and not much time for him to warm up as Brian Phipps comes off to try to kind of heal up after taking that shot.
You talk about Clark Peterson. One of the really interesting parts of his development was he started as a defensive midfielder. Eventually went to offensive midfield and then attack and has just flourished in that capacity.
Good work there. The United States getting a shot in front from Jules Henningberg. Shot sails wide, and Pinnell will trigger things in from the corner.
And when you're talking about just a 23-man roster for the World Championships, that versatility is something that both of these teams are looking for.
Miles Jones took his eye off it, dropped it. Busick tried to scoop it up. Ball still loose, and it's grabbed by the Canadians. Jones trying to get that ball back, and almost did. Ball went off the United States out of bounds, and I'll give it to the Canadians. Phipps, by the way, back in. You saw it briefly there. Seems to be okay, and he heads back into the crease as Kincannon walks off. I'm sure we'll see Kincannon either later on here tonight or definitely tomorrow in goal. Canadians quickly turn it over, and back the other way comes the United States.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised to see the U.S. split halves with those guys for this event. Kincannon, of course, coming off a terrific summer with the Atlas in the PLL. Had a big-time performance in the PLL All-Star game. Was basically on fire that entire time. And he also has some experience suiting up in this for this U.S. team, having played in some prior events. So he brings some good experience as well.
Kincannon coming out of Hofstra, played for Seth Tierney with the Pride. Seth Tierney, one of the assistant coaches, part of this staff for John Danowski. Here's Kelley. Feeds a little low, but it's scooped up by Chanachuk. A couple of former Terps there. Kelley with another run. This shot sails wide. Henningberg there for the backup.
Quite a few of those former Terps on the field here today for the USA, coming from that legacy and lineage.
And Henningberg stopped again by Dobson. Transition chance for the Canadians, and great play by the long poles.
Holding Garland there with a nice goose to get the ball back to his man trailing from the midfield. Canisius guy. Randy Mearns would be familiar with recruiting him to Canisius before he left to St. Bonaventure. Number 4 pick in the NLL draft for the Saskatchewan Rush.
Garland, a guy who could put up some points at 7 points this past year with Canisius in his final season. And here's Jeff Teague out of Cornell. All-American for the Big Red, entering his senior year. Skip pass across. Good look, but Gibson decides to back it out. Teacher on that short stick matchup. Q shot is high.
And there's Dinapoli again in the mix for it with the U.S. team. Very emotional at the prospect of being able to put on the red, white, and blue once again. Again, after that opportunity was denied him a few years ago. Or just last year, I should say.
Q backs in. Gibson. Some good looks for the Canadians here on this possession. Goal came off its line there. We're all fixed up, ready to go. And it's Ty Kurtz to trigger things in here from the corner. Excuse me, not Ty Kurtz. It's Riley O'Connor. Number 22 for Team Canada. There's Jeff Teague. Goes toward the goal, gets a big hit as he gets rid of it. That draws a flag. O'Connor in the back of the net.
And Teague took a big hit. He paid for this, but his patience paid off. Operating the corner, Canada continuously attacking the short sticks on this possession. And finally got the look they wanted. Look, Teague get inside. As he passes to X, he absorbs that big time check from Bryce Young. Canada able to redirect it from X back up top to O'Connor, and he's able to stick it. And one as we tie the game at 1.
Team Canada goal,
And
score
so
number 22, Riley O'Connor.
that is a 1-minute penalty for Bryce Young. So a man down face-off for the United States here. It's Joe Nardella there at the face-off X. Canada wins it. And so now it starts a man-up opportunity for the Canadians as they've just tied things up at 1 apiece. Good chance for this young Canadian team. Build a little confidence in this first half. Tough angle there for Ryan Lee.
You know, Teague was the top scorer for that Canadian team in 2018. 8 goals, 13 assists. As one of the youngest players on that team, pretty impressive to take such a large role.
At that point, still a sophomore in college. And there's a turnover, and that'll be a killer for the Canadians. Chance for the United States to run out the rest of this penalty.
I mean, you got to put Teague on your short list of Tuarton candidates for this upcoming year, right? When you're looking at Grant Ament.
Long list of some good guys, though. We got
Ament, Sowers, Jared Bernhardt. Teague's in that equation. Of course, T.D. Erlin, the face-off guy for Yale, the phenomenal face-off guy for Yale, who was a finalist last year. So that's going to be a fun race to watch, but Teague certainly in the thick of it.
Yeah, you think about some of the talent up and coming in this senior class. It is it's been an impressive class to watch come up through their 4 years of college.
And in talking to John Danowski about this Team USA evaluation process, he says you have to think about who some of these guys coming out of college are going to be in 2 and 3 years. What's Pat Spencer doing in 2 years?
Miles Jones, just high. Well, and that's the point for the players who are getting one of their first opportunities here this weekend. Guy like a Jules Henningberg who triggers in from the end line. This is a chance to make a first impression before one of those other guys maybe gets a shot to make a first impression. Diving in, that shot, I don't know if it ever got through for Busick, and it's scooped up by the Canadians. Teddy Leggett, current Lehigh Mountain Hawk, was in a little bit of trouble, and we get a timeout for Canada.
Timeout, Team Canada.
The offense is still figuring things out so far, but some good hustle plays on both sides.
Yeah, it could be physical, as we've seen. It could be chippy, and especially that's a little bit uncharacteristic for an October game. So, you know, certainly some getting accustomed to here.
And you take a look at some of the saves here for Brett Dobson, guy who started 7 games in his freshman year at St. Bonaventure, and he's showing that he can compete with some of the best players in the world.
And think about how well this is going to serve him coming in the spring. He's going to say, I stood up to the best shooters in the world and held them to, what's it now, 1 goal after, about
quarter and a half
of play. Not bad, not too shabby at all.
Dobson, a guy who played at the Hill Academy for none other than Brody Merrill, who's on the coaching staff tonight for Team Canada. Was also a basketball player. His dad played basketball at the University of Toronto, so an athletic family. This Canadian team, with all the youth that they have, has to be really happy with where they are right now. And if you're Randy Mearns, it's a great coaching opportunity as well, because you're in this game and you can kind of strategically see how players play when the lights are on and it's a tight game.
Yeah, no question. And you're seeing that there's some built-in chemistry with this Canadian group. These guys play box together all summer long, together and against each other. So while it might seem like a hodgepodge on paper, the familiarity of those from the Ontario and British Columbia ranks is showing. They've shown some decent chemistry on offense, the ability to work their two-man games. Defensively, the communication's really solid. They got Graham Hosack back there. He's a guy who's serving as their captain tonight. And, if you're someone like a young goalkeeper like Dobson, it's really nice to have someone like Graham Hosack in front of you, orchestrating the defense, taking that pressure off of you.
So coming off the timeout, it's Jeff Teague to trigger things in from the side. Canadians still looking to score their second straight goal, take their first lead of the night as we tick toward 5 minutes to go in this first half. Teague draws the slide. He takes a couple of tough shots. Feet in front, diving goal! It's Ryan Lee, and the Canadians have a lead.
That is just some savagery right there with Teague taking a pounding and yet not backing down from it. You see the quick slide coming from across the crease. He recognizes that, sees Ryan Lee filling in the space, and the beautiful one-touch diving finish. That's a Canadian play if I've ever seen one.
Ryan Lee was showing off the athleticism, putting up 46 points with the Denver Outlaws this summer, led that team, and a face-off win here for Justin Inacio to get another possession for the Canadians as they have their first lead of the night.
And you want to call him a breakout player, but lest our Division I biases show, he's the all-time leading scorer at RIT, a very proud and prominent Division III program. Scored 237 goals there to go with 136 assists during his college career.
Joel Tinney starts some offense there for the Canadians as Clark Peterson's shot goes high.
Tinney was a bubble guy for Canada in 2018. He was someone that very much could have been in that 23. So clearly hungry to make his mark here. Resides locally in Baltimore. This is a great opportunity for him to play.
This is Donville. Ball is poked away, but kept alive here by the Canadians. Jonathan Donville gets it to Peterson. A couple more Cornell guys, joined by Teague.
This is good experience for this U.S. team, for these guys to understand how slow these games can actually be, how methodical Canada can be.
Teague, a step-down shot. Excuse me, Tinney, a step-down shot.
Certainly the tempo here plays into Canada's favor.
Teague loves this wing, where he's been operating for most of the night so far, trying for that backdoor feed to Lee, and this time it's a turnover.
Yeah, but still another really good look. My eyes were actually drawn up the field because of all the window dressing that was happening at the top of the box. You kind of forgot about Lee as he snuck through the backside, and they almost got another one out of him.
After a couple of long possessions for the Canadians, the U.S. finally gets the ball back, and Connor Kelley kicks it over to Mike Chanichuk.
And now the U.S. needs to be equally as deliberate. You know, the temptation to say, hey, we just gave up 2 in a row here. Let's see if we can stick one quick. That's not going to fly.
Will Manny all the way around. Now out to John Haas. Actually just saw his wife play in this first game of the Fall Classic, Katie Haas. A couple of former Terps.
And, of course, Will Haas in this game as well, so very much a family affair for the Haas family.
Backdoor shot and a score. It's Marcus Holman who gets the United States back on the board. We're tied up at 2.
And that was a sneaky good look there.
Team USA
I'm pretty sure it was Henningberg operating at the top of the box. You see him draw his man upfield. He's got the short stick, and that almost an alley-oop. He kind of just passed him open. And Holman, very heads-up play right there on the crease.
Holman showing off the ups. Gonna put that on his vertical tape. Greg Gurenlian taking his first face-off of the night. The Beast, part of the last couple of World Championship teams for Team USA. He wins it back to himself and starts the clear here for the United States. And a timeout for Team USA as we got 1 minute and 10 seconds left to go in this first half. Coach John Danowski want to strategize, coach this situation. It could be a nice momentum boost if they can cash in here.
Yeah, again, international rules, we got 1 minute 10 left. You're playing for the last shot here. And they're going for the last shot of the half. They want to go into halftime up 3-2. They want to get the best look possible, get their personnel straight.
You look at some of the players that are playing this weekend that just missed. They were on that 40-man roster, didn't make the 23 that traveled to Israel. And for all these guys, whether it's a Will Manny, a Kavanaugh, Miles Jones, all guys you know are dying to wear red, white, and blue when you look ahead to 2022. This is an opportunity to start that process again and try to make your mark.
Yeah, and this is a testament to the program approach that John Danowski has really tried to foster within this U.S. national team. Used to be every 4 years you got a fresh 23. New tryout, roll the ball out, let the best man win. Now there's a little bit more continuity. You have events such as this Fall Classic, such as the Spring Premiere, the Blue-White Games, where you can get additional looks at some of the same guys over and over again, build a little bit of chemistry, and build a little bit of that hunger. Because those guys were so very close. A lot of those guys, again, on the bubble, and now they know the terminology, they know the vocabulary, they know what the coaches want, and better yet, they know what it's like to be left out, and they want to be a part of it.
And that has been a big part of the strategy for both the U.S. men's and women's programs over the last couple of times going for World Championships or World Cups is let's try to create a team atmosphere. And when you have the same coaching staff moving forward from this 2018 World Championship team, really an opportunity to create that same culture once again as they look ahead to 2022. Here's Miles Jones, under a minute to go now in this first half.
Of course, same thing for the Canadian staff, right? I mean, Randy Mearns going on his third go-around. So they have great continuity as well.
Busick dodges the alley, now behind to Henningberg. Back out top, Manny shoots wide. The backup will stay with the U.S. Down to 30 seconds to go in the half. Still plenty of time for the United States. You can hold for one here. Jones feeds in front. It was deflected before it got to Dobson. The Canadians scoop it up with 13 seconds left. Still time for Canada. And a timeout for the Canadians now with 8 seconds to go.
Not your traditional exhibition, right, where you got 2 timeouts in the final minute. I mean, this is Canada, USA, okay? Every possession is an anxiety bomb. They want to maximize. They understand that they're so precious, so few and far between. We see a very low-scoring first half here, so this could be a critical 6 seconds for Canada.
And especially when you talk about the international game and how few possessions are. And let's not. This is a different roster for both sides than what happened in 2018 in the World Championship gold medal game. But they were playing the final goal from Tom Schreiber that won that gold medal game on the field here before on the Jumbotron, and you looked at that Canadian coaching staff, and they were not thrilled about having to watch that moment right before they played. There's still an edge to Canada-U.S. no matter what's going on and what players are involved.
No question. That was definitely some billboard material. I guess literally as it was up on the scoreboard, you could see then the Canadian coaches, including John Grant Jr., kind of inching toward the U.S. side of the field with some 1,000-yard stares and some deadly glares going, kind of staring daggers into the opposite side. And, this familiarity breeds contempt, right? So, I mean, it's kind of a natural thing of rivalry. It's a beautiful thing about why these teams are playing here tonight.
Two of the best teams in the world when it comes to field lacrosse. And both teams have great depth of talent as showcased here tonight. It's Joel Tinney to start. 4 seconds left. He tries to shoot it toward the front. It looked like he may have been looking for Ryan Lee there on the doorstep as well, but with 1 second left, Phipps is just going to send this thing to the other end, and it'll bring us to the end of the first half. An entertaining first 30 minutes. Not a lot of scoring, but we've got a good one between the U.S. and Canada, all knotted up at 2 apiece through 30 minutes. The U.S. struck first. The Canadians bounced back, but it's Marcus Holman tying things up. We'll be back with more at the half here from Sparks, Maryland.
Our primary goal is to positively impact every child exposed to the sport.
USA on 3! 1, 2, 3! USA!
If they're having fun while they're learning, that's what it's all about.
Today, we're going to put it all together.
Get open, guys. Spread out.
Let's go out and continue what you started.
Whatever's across your chest matters.
It's having the opportunity to now inspire the next generation. I mean, that's the dream, right?
It's important for all of us as caretakers of the sport to give back.
My man, right? You need heart.
We saw a phenomenal battle today. 1, 2, 3, 4.
As a talented squad.
What a win!
The U.S. Lacrosse Fall Classic continues Saturday here on Lax Sports Network with Team USA and Team Canada once again in action, along with the defending NCAA men's and women's champions from the University of Virginia and the University of Maryland. The action gets underway. 9 a.m. Eastern continues all day with 4 games, all live on Lax Sports Network. LSN, your home for the 2019 U.S. Lacrosse Fall Classic. And we welcome you back here at the half between the U.S. and Canada men's national teams. Travis Eldridge and Matt De Silva back with you. We're tied up at 2 apiece, and you could see the edges of the rivalry there at the end. Both teams taking timeouts late, trying to figure out how they can get an edge in this game. It may be an exhibition, but there's something at stake.
It's USA-Canada. It's going to be a grind. It's going to get chippy. It's probably going to be a 1-goal game. That's just the way this rivalry has grown into.
And you take a look at some of our first half highlights. Brian Phipps was knocked out at one point in that game with a little bit of a tough shot, but he stayed in. And both goalies were good as we got a good look at Brett Dobson, the goalie out of St. Bonaventure, who had a good first half for the Canadians.
Yeah, interesting juxtaposition. The veteran on the U.S. side, the young college sophomore on the Canadian side, both showing their stripes. And again, we mentioned the physical nature of this rivalry, of this game, and Jeff Teague bore the brunt of it a lot of the times. But again, he bounced right back and made the USA pay. A couple of nice plays. He had the second assist on the first goal, and there finds Ryan Lee for the diving shot.
And then the U.S. able to close the half with the final goal of the half as Jules Henningberg connected with Marcus Holman for a pretty play. That's got us with our halftime score all knotted up at 2 apiece. A good one here between the United States and Canada. When we come back, we'll continue to get you ready for the third quarter. Rematch of that 2018 World Championship gold medal game. A good one so far. Stay with us.
The U.S. men's.
In the United States and Canada, the second game of this U.S. Lacrosse Fall Classic. Part of the 3-day of gold medal game. The Canadians winning the opening faceoff of this third quarter and tied it to a chance to take that lead back after they had a 2-1 edge taken away there at the end of the first half.
And how about Justin Inacio? He's now 4 for 6 for Canada. If you're wondering how they've been able to get all these possessions and stay in this game, look at what he's been able to do at the X against Trevor Baptiste, Joe Nardella, and Greg Gorenlian.
Feed to Ryan Lee, and the bounce shot goes. Ryan Lee's second of the night, and the Canadians are back on top.
Some early offense for a change from Canada on this possession. Maybe catching the U.S. a little bit off guard, considering how sustained those possessions were earlier in the game. And lo and behold, look who it is with the assist. Jeff Teague to Ryan Lee. That's turning into quite the little combination here for Canada. Those guys seem to have some really good chemistry operating on opposite sides of the field all the way through traffic.
Jeff Teague collecting points here, which is nothing new. The fastest four-year player in NCAA lacrosse history to get to the 100-point total. Did so in just 18 games at Cornell. That is very, very impressive.
Yeah, he went through that lull there in a couple of different occasions where teams started really strategizing to take him out of the game.
Well, when you get to 100 points faster than any player.
Saying, let someone else beat us other than Jeff Teague. I mean, Randy Mearns called him one of the best players in the world, not even out of college yet. And again, that's saying something considering his youth and the fact that he's just got the utmost potential as a professional, likely a #1 pick in the next NLL draft.
That shot from Ryan Lee is stopped in front as we get our first real look at Jack Kincannon. He aged because he was injured, but Jack Kincannon now in the cage for Team USA in goal. Jonathan Donville off the post.
Donville, those guys, a nice 1-2 punch at Cornell. And also former teammates at the Hill Academy. So again,
and Hill Academy guy and Clark Peterson, his skip pass gets all the way through, was not deflected, so it's a turnover. So Jack Kincannon to start the clear. United States back down by 1.
And now this half we see Drake Porter in goal for Canada, the starter at Syracuse last season. And if you look at the night's over for Brett Dobson, you got to be happy with what he put into his effort tonight. And if you're Randy Mearns, you're saying that's my goalie.
Yeah, you give up 2 goals against Team USA, you're feeling very good as you leave here tonight.
7 first half saves for Dobson.
Here's Connor Kelley working at the top of the box. Shot high, but the backup there from Matt Cavanaugh. If you're just joining us, international rules, 15-minute running time quarters as Cavanaugh quickly goes to work. Looks to back down his man. The behind the back shot is just wide, but Rob Pennell there to keep possession. Pennell takes a stick up by the helmet.
This was the matchup in the World Championship. It was Pennell and Hosak. Those two were going at each other left and right. Deja vu here at Tierney Field.
As Marcus Holman has his man hung up. Chanichuk down the alley, now back to another former Terp and Kelley. And that is a massive yard sale from the Canadians, but the possession stays with the U.S. That was one heck of a check.
That's the Canadian contingent here, definitely springs to life.
A dive, and it stays out. A flag is down. They're going to get a push on the Canadians on Holden Garland. And a man-up opportunity for the United States.
Great effort by Holman. I mean, he's just beneath goal line extended, trying to get upfield, draws the penalty. Almost finishes for the end one as well. Important man-up opportunity here for Team USA.
Kelley, Haas, Holman working from the top of the box, and then you got Pennell along with Chanichuk in there. Chanichuk's shot is stopped. And Kavanaugh, the last member of this man-up unit, able to create an opportunity for Haas to scoop up the ground ball.
And those are the plays Kavanaugh makes, right? The man takes the man out on a man-ball situation. I mean, he's not all just about the offensive numbers. He's definitely very, very scrappy.
We're back to even strength. Shot from Chanichuk's wide.
And that play right there, that Kavanaugh taking the man, that's the type of play that's going to gain the attention of the U.S. coaches.
The little things.
The unseens, so to speak.
Pennell, backhand shot kicked away. Drake Porter turning away his first shot.
That was a really tough save. I mean, Pennell had to stick masked pretty much the entire way before he brought it out for the backhand, and Porter able to stay with it.
And a chance for this Canadian team to go back to work offensively. There's Reed Bowering, current Drexel senior, coming out of Coquitlam, British Columbia. Well, they're one of the college players getting a shot for this Canadian national team here this weekend. And so far, so good for Team Canada. Backhand feed, the backhand flip is stopped by Kincannon. Kept alive here by Tyson Gibson as he triggers here on the restart. Gibson stopped by Kincannon. Rebound still alive, but scooped up by the United States.
Nice defense there by Dinapoli, able to keep Gibson below goal line extended, force a tough angle on that shot. USA transitions up the field.
Here comes Matt Dunn, who gets it to the offensive end, and Marcus Holman. Brent Adams running out of the midfield unit here for the United States. Gets it to Kavanaugh, Pennell, Miles Jones. Jones stripped away, but Pennell right place, right time. Busick, a little wide, but Brent Adams had a beat on it. Instead, it's the Canadians with the loose ball. Comes loose to Pennell. And a heads-up play to just get it out to Miles Jones and keep the offensive set alive. Holman. And he stepped in the crease.
Yeah, nice look there by Jones to catch Holman in stride, but by the time he corralled the ball, he could not gain his feet in front of the crease and had him backhanded his way.
Past the midway point of this third quarter, the Canadians with the only goal so far in the second half, a 3-2 lead here in the Fall Classic.
You got to hand it to Canada. There's nothing about their body language that says they're intimidated at all by this matchup, despite their youth, despite the star power on the U.S. side. These guys are in it to win it tonight. And with the one-goal lead here midway through the third quarter, certainly their confidence has ratcheted up a notch.
This is Jeff Teague on that far side. His skip pass is deflected. Almost eventually made it all the way through to Ryan Lee. Race for the end line, or for the sideline, excuse me. It'll stay with Canada. Notice Jeff Teague starting just about every sideline out of bounds type situation.
Yeah, any opportunity you have to start with the ball in his stick, they are going to take it. And that clearly was a direction coming out tonight, was that he was going to be the initiator on almost every possession.
This is Riley O'Connor. He has it stripped away. Loose ball scrum. And it's won by the Canadians. Far side, a diving finish. That was something special from Ryan Lee. Another special finish from the guy out of RIT.
Ryan Lee is putting on a show tonight. This degree of difficulty on this goal. You see his dive, everything about his body says he's going to shoot low, and somehow midair is able to stuff that high over Concannon. You see he gets Concannon to drop. I mean, that's just tremendous, tremendous ball control in a very difficult situation.
Ryan Lee completing the hat trick, and the Canadians have a 2-goal lead. And another face-off win here for Ignacio. He goes right to the goal. Make it 3 in a row for Canada. They're up 5-2.
Stunning dominance for Canada at the position where they were considered to be weakest. The face-off X. Ignacio now 6 for 8. International rules, you can keep the ball in the back of your stick as you take it in the offensive zone, and that's a tricky release for Concannon to pick up, and Ignacio taking full advantage.
Justin Ignacio is somebody who is familiar with using the back of that stick. If you go back to before the 2016 U19 World Championships, during one of those exhibitions with Team USA, he made a heck of a play at the end of a game as Greg Gorenlian answers. The Beast says, I want some. And he's got the U.S. back on the board.
Hold on, young buck. Let me show you how it's done. Gorenlian, in what could be his last hurrah with this U.S. team, with a much-needed energy play right off the face-off. Look at the stick fake, a little face dodge to get inside, and the finish. He's got some good lacrosse left in him.
Notice the Canadians went with Graham Hasek out there with the long pole face-off, and Greg Gorenlian takes advantage. This is Trevor Baptiste back against Ignacio. Scrum for the loose ball. And it's scooped up by the Canadians.
Things definitely picking up here in the third quarter in terms of pace.
It's turned over. Goalie's out of the cage, but Kavanaugh can't take advantage. He settles things down. And skip pass couldn't be completed as Dinapoli was coming from the midfield. Instead, it's Hasek the other way.
Can't fault the U.S. with going for that look. Dinapoli makes that catch. He's got a point-blank look at the cage. No one in front of him. Just unable to connect on the pass.
Tyson Gibson and Jonathan Donville in there for the midfield for Canada.
And you're seeing the U.S. now, they're starting to extend. They're starting to make the ball carriers a little bit less comfortable, giving them less room to operate, both riding and here on the defensive side. That compact defense that we saw earlier starting to push out, maybe try to force the issue, inject some tempo into the game from the defense to offense.
1 minute remaining in the
Canadians seem content to try to hold for one more shot in this third quarter as we're under a minute to go. And the keep it in call has been called by the refs, so Tyson Gibson's got to keep it in the box. Down to 37 seconds to go in the third quarter. This is Tyson Gibson, first overall pick in the NLL draft by the New York Riptide. Under 20 seconds left. Canadians now got to think about going. Gibson forces one through. Somehow scooped up. Backhand flip in front, kept out by Concannon. There's also a flag down. That was a late flag, as looked like one of the Canadians had ended up in the crease.
Looks like Dinapoli it's headed off.
Unnecessary roughness called on Team USA.
That's a tough break for the United States with just 1 second left in the third quarter. 1 minute unnecessary roughness call on Steve Dinapoli.
Yeah, it looked like trying to crash the middle there. He kind of got tied up with his mark and brought him to the ground. You know, at that point, you're just scrambling to do anything to keep the ball out of the crease and out of the net.
And so it'll be a man-up opportunity for the Canadians as we enter the fourth quarter. Canada with a 5-3 lead over the United States. We got 15 more minutes to go in Sparks, Maryland. Justin Inacio and company looking to knock off the U.S. Remember, 11 Sports is your home for Big Sky football all season long. Tomorrow afternoon, our crew heads up to Greeley, Colorado for a matchup between Northern Colorado and Portland State. 3 p.m. Eastern, 1 p.m. Mountain Time. Portland State coming off a shutout victory over Idaho. Looking to play spoiler. It's homecoming at Northern Colorado. Big Sky football on 11 Sports coming your way tomorrow here Saturday afternoon, 3 p.m. Eastern, 1 p.m. Mountain Time. Back here to start the fourth quarter. Travis Eldridge and Matt De Silva back with you. The Canadians starting with a 1 minute extra man opportunity coming off a late third quarter flag on Steve Dinapoli. Big opportunity for the Canadians with a 2-goal lead. This is Jeff Teague, skips down to Joel Tinney. Another one for the Canadians. They're up 3.
Make it 4 assists for Jeff Teague tonight. Very comfortable operating from up top in this extra man set for Canada. And we forgot about Tinney. See the entire U.S. defense get drawn up toward Teague. He's like a magnet, wondering what he's going to do with the ball. And Tinney's just sitting on the doorstep ready to clean up.
Great look from Jeff Teague. 4 assists for him tonight, as you just mentioned. He is showing you why he is regarded as one of the best feeders in the college game.
And he can do it from many different spots on the field, different angles. You know, he's just so crafty.
You got a face-off win for Joe Nardella there for the United States, an important one as they now find themselves down by 3. And remember, no shot clock or possession clock in the international rules. So if you're Canada, and as we've seen for much of this game, expect longer, more methodical Canadian possessions as we go down here in the fourth quarter.
Yeah, now the U.S. finds itself in the predicament down 3 with this running time clock. You know, 13 minutes can go real fast.
Makes each possession that much more important. This is Chanichuk. Now Connor Kelley from way downtown, and he finds the back of the net. The U.S. with an answer to get back within 2.
Absolutely essential goal for the U.S. to stop that Canadian run here. Kelley coming off the pick, gets his hands free, shoots across his body, and again, that release point comes so late that it's so difficult for the goalie to pick up. And a good job, good placement. Not a terribly hard shot in terms of velocity, but the placement was right on point.
Greg Gurenlian, who scored the last time he took a face-off, back out there for the United States against Justin Inacio, but it's Inacio who beats the beast.
That's funny, talking to Randy Mearns before this game, he talked about face-off being the thinnest position for Canada in terms of talent. Jake Withers not out here tonight. You'd think he'd be in the mix as he was on that 2018 team. The ghost of Jeff Snyder hanging out there somewhere in the distance. You know, but Justin Inacio tonight saying, you know, making a statement in terms of how he could position himself for this squad for the future.
Inacio coming off a season at Ohio State where he's the Big Ten Coast Specialist of the Year. It's been an important piece for head coach Nick Myers there for the Buckeyes. Looks to be again this year. Here's Jeff Teague.
And you see the respect the U.S. defense is showing Teague by sliding early and often to him as he draws short stick.
Teague now sends it behind. Riley O'Connor looking for space there in the middle.
And you see from this U.S. defense, the slides are there. They're not precise. They're not decisive.
Tyson Gibson with a pretty flip, but it stays out. Jack Kincannon comes out to make a nice play to get it to Dinapoli. Clutch defensive play there for the United States.
Yeah, really nice stick work by Kincannon to keep that ball in the stick of the U.S. team, but costly turnover on the other end.
Now it's Jared Newman looking to make a play to get it to Matt Cavanaugh at X, but it was just a little too high.
And those are the ones that eat at you. It's just those simple A to B exchange type of turnovers. If you're trying to make a play, it's one thing, but you could see they were trying to get new personnel in, have a sustained possession, and again, it's back in the Canadian side.
And back in the stick of Jeff Teague. It seems that he and Tyson Gibson really have emerged as dominant ball handlers for this Canadian team throughout the night.
It seems almost blasphemous for a defense as talented as this U.S. team, but do you shut Teague off? Do you just extend at every turn on him and not let the ball get the ball stick? As you see now, he's going to try to take another short stick matchup.
Jake Richard pressuring out on him. Teague pushed over, and that's a flag. All three referees threw flags on that one.
Pushing call on Team USA.
And a man up for the Canadians.
And yeah, that was quite an easy call for the officials, all three of them, as you mentioned. Jake Richard, again, maybe just trying to do a little too much. You don't want to let Teague dictate. But again, you don't want to wind up in the box either. So here we go again. Canada man up once more.
Yeah, Tinney at the top of the box. Now Jeff Teague circling to the top. Teague. As the Canadians keep possession there on the far side. Here's Andrew Q. And the penalty's released. Teague, step down just high. Back to even strength here in the U.S. We're under 8 minutes to go. The Canadians with a 2-goal lead. And another long offensive set. That one almost got by Kincannon, but it somehow stayed out.
U.S. caught a break there. Tinney getting a great look on the goal.
And another big offensive possession for the United States. Miles Jones, Brent Adams in there in the midfield for the U.S. As that pass skips but is kept alive by X. Busick, the other midfielder, in for the United States on this possession. Here's Pinnell. And a great battle to watch with him against Hasek again. Busick. Lost it for a second, but Holman, right place, right time.
Tenacious defense by Teddy Leggett. Able to dislodge that stick.
Miles Jones looking for space. Gets that shot to his right hand. It's well wide, but Marcus Holman there for the backup. It's Holman from the corner. Manny winds, fires, and scores. Will Manny's got the U.S. back within one.
How many times have we seen this from Will Manny? Often it's him camping out and someone finding him. This time he creates his own shot coming off the screen, sets his feet, and that smooth underarm release there. One of the best pure shooters in the game. Great lefty stroke. Scored 22 goals this summer with the Archers. That was ranked second in PLL, just right behind his teammate Marcus Holman.
And Trevor Baptiste wins an important face-off for the United States. Steve Dinapoli, the short stick defensive midfielder, gets that loose ball and gets it to Rob Pannell. The United States trail by 3 here in this fourth quarter, but now back within 1. Still plenty of time with 5 minutes to go. And an offensive possession is John Haas and his midfield unit now on the field. Haas spins. Dishes around to Kelley and Chanichuk. Connor Kelley has had a nice evening, a goal and an assist. He wants more, but it's kept out. Rebound is good. Excuse me, no, it's been waved off. They say no goal. Let's take another look. Kelley's shot stays out. Holman was trying to tiptoe the crease.
And immediately the official comes over to wave it off. His foot was in the crease. Good call there by the Stripes. And really a tremendous play by Holman. I mean, Johnny on the spot there with that rebound to even make that play, be in a position to score that goal. Really remarkable.
And so it stays a 6-5 game. Canada with the lead, and in a little bit of trouble, Graham Hosek gets a timeout call by the Canadians. We're going to take a look at that goal once more. Watch Marcus Holman's feet along the crease. He was trying to tiptoe the crease and stay out. See the official right there. It seems like he's got a good angle on it.
Yeah, I mean, I'd say at this, his look is better than ours, you know, from where we are here. He was right there, right in good position. You know, it's one of those where you're going to probably see it whichever way you're playing it. Certainly the U.S. would love to have that goal on the board. We'd be looking at a tie game here. Still plenty of time with 3 minutes, 50 seconds left as we regroup.
So instead, the Canadians get the possession. They call a timeout as they got the ball into this offensive part of the field. And so if you're Canada, you can have a 3-minute and 50-second possession if you really want to. For the United States, what's going on in those huddles, especially the defensive huddle?
I tell you, they're appreciating this opportunity to coach up these guys in an international setting, to say these guys are going to hold, and hold. So as far as how you choose when and how to extend on the ball, maybe you start with a double, just kind of out of the timeout, just to force the issue right away. Or maybe you sit back and you decide to spring into action. Certainly, Coach Amplo coming up with those plans as we speak.
And so the U.S. defense has that task. Take the ball away from this Canadian offense. Give yourselves a chance to tie this thing up late.
Certainly, maybe you're looking to deny Teague once more. I mean, he's the most capable ball handler here, and it looks to be the case. They got Jared Newman on Teague, making sure he's denying that entry pass.
And Joel Tinney slipped down for a second, but Matt McMahon couldn't take it away. This is Clark Peterson. Jake Richard draws that matchup with his short stick. And Richard broke his stick, so a number situation for Canada as the U.S. quickly has to get another short stick on the field. They do as Will Haas comes in. And Clark Peterson disposes of that broken stick.
Nonchalantly.
There's Jeff Teague. What a night he's had. 4 assists for the Canadians.
What you don't want to do is foul here. Controlled aggression.
Teague gets free. Over to Tinney. That's going to draw a flag and a tripping call against Garrett Epple. Let's get another look at this one.
Got his stick up under his legs again, and maybe a little bit of a dive there. But that's just heads up play on the Canadian side, right? I mean, he certainly, we talked about controlled aggression, and they're just not enough stick control for Epple, and he's going to the box.
And a 1-minute penalty with 2:28 to go in this fourth quarter. And John Danowski and Team USA want a timeout as they face a man down situation, down by 1 with time winding down.
I don't think you would have come into tonight's game, looked at that Canadian roster, 12 current collegians, 7 players from the class of 2019, how young they are going against this more veteran U.S. group, and expected that with less than 2 minutes and 30 seconds remaining, they'd be nursing a 1-goal lead, going man up now, chance to put the nail in the coffin.
This is a surprise, to say the least. We were talking to Randy Mearns about this earlier this week, and he said, you know what? The great thing about this is we don't know what we're going to get. We could come out here and lose by 15. We could come out here and win by 10. We really don't know, and that was part of this experiment, was figuring out, all right, let's bring in some guys we think that could be in contention for 2022 to be part of this Canadian national team, and let's see what they got. And so far, Coach Randy Mearns has got to be really happy.
And what surprises me most is that it's Canada that has played most of the international rules. You know, and not many of them have experience in this setting. And you can say the same thing for the U.S., but at least those guys, again, that we mentioned that were on that 40-man, they were trained in this model. But, you know, you're not seeing that kind of poise and patience on the U.S. side. You're seeing it from these young Canadians who are used to playing with a shot clock, who are used to being up and down. But, you know, they've really embraced the tempo of playing a slow, grinded-out game. Here we are. It's U.S.-Canada. It's a 1-goal game. It's single digits. I mean, this is so stereotypical of this rivalry.
As we said at the top, the last time these two countries played in men's field lacrosse, it came down to that last nanosecond of time on the clock. Tom Schreiber finding the back of the net to win gold for Team USA. Now, different group of players, some new faces on both sides, but the countries remain the same. And if you're one of these defenders for the U.S., if you're a Jared Newman, this is what an opportunity to make your mark on this coaching staff by making a play here late to maybe give yourself another opportunity.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm thinking of that Canada-U.S. round-robin game in Israel where it was Joe Fletcher came up with the timely disruption on the defensive end to preserve the 1-goal win. In this case, you got to cause a turnover at some point here. Canada seemingly content to sort of wait this clock out.
U.S. man down for a minute. That penalty will be released right around the 1:28 mark as Canada now has to keep it in the box. U.S. pressuring out. Will Haas coming out, but the Canadians, great ball movement to keep it away. Andrew Q takes your shot. It's staved by Kincannon. You gotta have this ground ball if you're the United States. Instead, it's Q with it. And a timeout for the Canadians.
Timeout, Team Canada.
A huge ground ball by Andrew Q in Canada.
That was a crucial play. U.S. got what they wanted. They got the ball on the carpet. Concannon had a look at it. Nice save there, right there on Q. But Q staying with the possession, right? So Concannon overruns it a bit. Q waiting his turn. The one-handed scoop comes up with the possession. Timely timeout. And here we go again. Minute 25 remaining. U.S. has got to try to make that happen all over again.
And so the penalty should be released. So we will be back to even strength, but the U.S. still needing to take this ball away late. And you see some of these players making their Team USA debut, and some of them are in on that man down possession when you look at Matt McMahon and Jared Newman.
Yeah, you see specifically on the defensive side of the ball, Mark Lassini making his debut, the heralded short stick defensive midfielder coming off that terrific PLL summer. Bryce Young also suiting up for the U.S. for the first time. And again, so working in the new personnel, they're here in a very important, critical situation, as critical as it gets for an exhibition game. And so it's just a wonderful opportunity to evaluate how they respond in these situations.
Yeah, Coach John Danowski probably couldn't have drawn up a better situation to test some of these defenders. What do you got in a situation where we need you to make a play in short time? What can you do for us if you're going to make that team in 2022?
Yeah, it's teaching time, right? I mean, some of the best world champion U.S. teams have taken their lumps. 2010, you think about that team that lost to Duke all those years back in the then the Champion Challenge, right? Looking at the last go-around 2018 team when they lost in the MLL All-Star game. These are really good moments for these coaches. And again, I'm not counting this as a loss yet, but certainly adversity is a good thing.
And we've got a turnover. Matt McMahon scoops up the loose ball, so the U.S. a chance to get this possession under a minute 20 to go. It's Will Haas on the far side and a timeout.
Timeout, Team USA.
For Team USA. And they will get a possession, a chance to try to tie this thing up with close to a minute to go. A minute 11 seconds left in this fourth quarter.
And there's one of those newcomers we were talking about, Matt McMahon, coming up with a big-time play. I know what he can bring to the table. He's a lanky defender, a lefty, can kind of give you some different looks that way. Great communicator, makes a big play out of the huddle.
And so for this great crowd we have here at U.S. Lacrosse headquarters, an exciting finish here to the second and final game of the night to kick off this Fall Classic. With the U.S., we've seen Will Manny, Rob Pennell, Marcus Holman all make plays so far. Are you looking at one of those guys right now to try to trigger? Or is there somebody else you think that you want to see try to make a play?
Listen, it depends on what the set is coming out of here. If Rob Pennell is on the field, this is when you're going to him. This is what Coach Janowski wants to see Rob Pennell take over in these situations. We saw it, obviously, in Israel. You know, you talk about Tom Schreiber's last-second goal. You don't really think about the fact that it was Rob Pennell. That was his lone point of the game, and it came in the biggest of situations there with the game on the line. And so, you know, look for him to get it to X, look for him to get it to Pennell, and look for him to probe and penetrate, draw a slide, or maybe look for one of those guys kind of cutting on the crease as they work some action up top.
Coming out of the timeout in the midfield, it looks to be that Maryland line of midfielders that have been running together tonight. When you look at Mike Chanichuk, John Haas, and Connor Kelley. In the attack spots, you have Will Manny, Marcus Holman, and Rob Pennell for Team USA. Connor Kelley to start things out.
Surprised to see Canada extending this much on this defensive possession.
1 minute remaining.
Not playing it safe.
A minute to go. Team USA looking to score to tie things up. Chanichuk now behind to Rob Pennell. Pennell skips it back out to Kelley. Still plenty of time for the U.S. Shot and a score! Will Manny ties it up! A big-time play for Will Manny, his second of the night, and we're tied at 6 apiece.
Ice in his veins. Will Manny, there is no moment too big for him.
Second assist of the game.
Connor Kelley, great job to find Manny hanging out there in the slot. Quick catch and release, and again, it's so smooth, it's deceptive.
Remember, Will Manny in the All-Star game before that 2018 team went over to Israel. He scored the game winner against Team USA. Now he's scoring a game-tying goal for Team USA. And Joe Nardella and Mark Glissini team up to win the face-off. 24 seconds left. The U.S. now a chance to win it. Score! Team USA and Joe Nardella, the face-off man, all alone, gives the U.S. the lead.
What a turn of events. Joe Nardella looked like he might have been trying to get off, found himself unexpectedly open. Says, I'll stay. And Canada just leaves him. Great recognition by Manny to find him on the crease and stick the go-ahead goal with 19 seconds remaining.
And it's Greg Gurenlian out there who wins the face-off for Team USA. What a turn of events. 7 seconds left. And the U.S., down by 1 with under a minute to go, scores 2 goals in the final 40 seconds to walk away with a 7-6 win over Canada. Another chapter written in this rivalry.
Never a dull moment when it comes to USA and Canada. This is why we want to bring this atmosphere here every year moving forward. These two teams need to play more. Just anytime they wear these jerseys, the excitement, the pageantry, the rivalry. What an amazing game, an amazing finish. We talked about in the pregame just the face-off advantage that we thought the U.S. had, and that didn't really bear out except in the fourth quarter. Joe Nardella is Johnny on the spot. They love him for his ball skills. He can win face-offs, but he can handle with the stick as well, and he showed it in the biggest of circumstances.
What a end of the game for Will Manny as we welcome you back up here in the concourse, the booth areas. Some fans got really entertained down the stretch of this one. Will Manny scores the game-tying goal here with under a minute to go, and then Manny just recognizing Joe Nardella was left wide open off of that face-off to score the game-winning goal. As we're going to take a look at some of the highlights of this second half. Canada, how they played in the third and almost all of the fourth quarter, exactly how you would draw it up.
Yeah, that 3-goal spurt in the third quarter really got the U.S. on its heels. You know, that chemistry between Jeff Teague and Ryan Lee, obviously very evident. And the U.S. was a little bit sloppy on offense, but they found their rhythm later in the game. And you saw that beautiful helicopter check. What a game this has been.
Back and forth we went. The goalie play for Canada, you have to be really happy. Drake Porter came in the second half. He made some stops. You mentioned Ryan Lee. That was another highlight reel finish for him. He had a couple. And then Justin Ignacio at one point gave this Canadian team a 3-goal lead, but Greg Gurenlian able to answer, and just methodically the United States was able to chip away at that Canadian 3-goal lead late.
Yeah, and Canada had all the momentum after that Ignacio goal, and Greg Gurenlian, the Grizzly veteran, the beast, comes in and totally shifted things there in the third quarter. And then, you know, the U.S. was able to maintain and not push too hard on its possessions. You know, it wasn't one and done. There was no panic in this team, and Will Manny came up huge with that game-tying goal.
You had Marcus Holman, who thought at that point he may have tied the game. Instead, it was waved off for a Crease violation, and then eventually it ends up in the Joe Nardella game winner. I don't think any of us thought we were going to be saying that at the beginning of the night, that Joe Nardella would score the game-winning goal, but that is exactly what happened. The face-off man able to find himself open after a long battle for that face-off, and Joe Nardella, a guy who was left off of that team before 2014 that went over to Israel, able to score the game winner here tonight in the Fall Classic. Matt, but before we go, just your final impression of what was a heck of a game.
Well, that last play is obviously sticking in my mind. So much excitement. And look who it was that connected on that play. Will Manny, Joe Nardella, two guys that were razor-thin margin almost on that 2018 team. There's a real palpable hunger there, a real desire to be a part of this moving forward. They certainly showed it.
So that's going to do it for us here from Sparks, Maryland tonight. Once again, your final score, the United States 7, Canada 6, another chapter written in this incredible rivalry. Remember, the Fall Classic continues tomorrow morning here on Lax Sports Network. It starts at 9 a.m. Eastern with a quadruple header featuring the 4 teams you saw tonight, along with the defending NCAA men's and women's national champions, Virginia and Maryland. But for now, for Matt DeSilva and Monica Moore, I'm Travis Eldridge saying so long and thanks for watching Day 1 of the U.S. Lacrosse Fall Classic.